always do that. I'm a night rider. Every time that I call past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I give what I got, I supply that fire. I supply that fire.
What's going on, bookworms, and welcome back to another edition of Bookmarks with Bump, the social commentary podcast where your favorite endurance runner, certified tradesman, certified personal trainer, and certified California sober guy goes over all of the bookmarks that he had stowed away on the shelf for many, many years. Scrolling through Twitter, I never do seem to have the time to go through this greatest compilation of all time. So I decided to share these moments with you and share the happenings of an endurance running guy's life on a week-to-week basis. And here we are. It's number 76 or 7 backwards. Okay. We just celebrated our 75th episode, so things might be a little loopy here on this wonderful Thursday evening of November 20th in the year of our Lord 2025. When you hear this, it'll be November 23rd. It is the week of Thanksgiving, a time to be grateful, a time to get fat and jolly, and a time to work it all off. And nobody works it all off like our favorite NFL players, okay? Week 11 just wrapped up. Week 12 is coming around the hatch. As we move on through today, the 23rd, these games will hit us like a brick house. But last week, these games did just the same, and we learned quite a few things from them. The first thing that we learned is that the Patriots are the best team in the world. Despite their slow starts and needing a half for their defense to get under control and settle down this game, usually it's the offense that takes a couple minutes to click, but we really had to try to shut down Justin Fields' rushing ability in this game. He was the leading rusher for the Jets. It would be a Travion Henderson show again. Drake May moved the pill effortlessly, flawlessly almost down the field, and the Jets covered just a total of 245 yards, while our patron saint, Drake May, would throw for 281. Just imagine it. One guy's arm outgained an entire team. And meanwhile, Travion Henderson would gallop for another 70 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground and 1 touchdown through the air. Drake May and Travion Henderson are connecting at such a beautiful time, and it is a great time for the Patriots because Travion Henderson was the prince that was promised. When we drafted Travion, I knew it was the right move. I watched a lot of college football last year. Coincidentally, because I watched a lot of college football, I watched a lot of Ohio State. I listened to a lot of Gus Johnson, and he was always calling out Travion Henderson's name. Travion Henderson had 3 touchdowns in this contest. We set up a couple field goals there late in the game. Couldn't quite score the way we wanted to on the Jets. However, we did cover the 12.5-point spread. We won 27-14 on Thursday night up in Foxborough on a primetime game, and it was just a huge stage for Drake May and this Patriots team. It was a huge stage for Mike Vrabel to show what he's capable of, what he has shown us before in Tennessee. That unceremonious ending to that relationship up there is something for us to question for the long term, but as a Patriots fan, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Sorry you had to uproot your family and all that stuff, but thanks for being our coach now, man. Thanks for giving us something to look forward to. The Patriots, the first seed in the AFC, the first seed in the AFC East, and everybody says we have an easy schedule, so if that's the case, we'll continue to hold on to that first seed and make it into the playoffs, where there is no easy schedule. There is no easy schedule in the playoffs, so there's no easy schedule in the NFL. Any team can win on any given Sunday, and I've talked about these stories week in and week out here, so I don't want to hear about easy. You still have to go out there and perform. If it was easy, they'd be 10-0 right now, but they're not. And I'm okay with that. I'm completely fine with their record. We'll move on to Sunday because Sunday, Madrid, Spain got their first NFL game ever. And it's the Dolphins taking on the Commanders. Both teams were missing big pieces and failing to live up to their expectations this season. However, in the land of football, this first half would be a familiar cagey affair, as they might say in European soccer. A 6-6 soccer match, 2 kicks per team. Really boring first half. Just easy like a Sunday morning, I guess. That would be until the Commanders' first drive of the second half, when Deebo Samuel would take a short little check pass 20 yards into the end zone with a tiny seam and a burst of speed. It's so interesting to see Deebo Samuel and the way he moves through the football field. That was just such an instinctual and pure talent play when he caught that hitch. He was kind of in a pile to his right-hand side and then made one move to the left and was gone. And he's so big that by the time somebody does catch up to him, because they always do, he can just power right through. Shout out to Deebo Samuels getting into the end zone. And it kind of seemed like both offenses finally had it clicking when Tua found Waddle for a 31-yard gain. But Frankie Louvu would deny Ollie Gordon and Devon Achane access to the end zone. The Dolphins throw the ball in goal line situations more than any team I've ever watched. But after getting to the one and failing, they'd get to the one and pound it in with Ollie Gordon later on to tie again early in the fourth. Marcus Mariota's legs would get Washington on a huge 43-yard run. Marcus Mariota really filling the role of quarterback well for the Commanders team, and he helped put the go-ahead points on the board. Except they go for it on 4th and goal and fail again. This happened often in this game. It was 2 or 3 separate times there in the second half when each of these teams would get down to the 1 and go for it on 4th rather than kick a field goal. So here we are with 12 seconds left in the game, and Matt Gay misses a 56-yarder because they got overtime again overseas, and the Dolphins would end up winning this game after Marcus Mariota would throw an interception right away in overtime. And they just got down to where they knew Riley Patterson could make a kick, and on 1st and 10 they kicked the ball, and that was all she wrote for Madrid, Spain. So Spain gets an overtime game with a lot of kicks. I'm sure they really loved the football match. Just before noon, news broke that the Bills were already, who already had their backs against the wall going into this game, 6-3 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were also 6-3. Both teams really needing a win. They decided this would be the time to punish the disappointing young receiver Keon Coleman for missing a Friday morning meeting again. They're fed up with him. Deion Dawkins is fed up with him. If you saw the post-game presser, when they asked if they took it too hard on Keon Coleman, he said they're taking it easy on him. So, just to summarize, but anyway, they have to be fed up with the kid, especially considering they'll need any weapon they can get facing an angry Bucs team who just got shit canned by the Pats a week prior. That's just the way the cookie crumbles in this league. These two teams would battle and exchange the lead 9 times, though, until the fourth quarter, when Josh Allen put his MVP hat from last season on and said, "Enough is enough here." The Buccaneers would fail their 2-point conversion, and the Bills would roll. 2 80-yard, 8-play drives that would take 9 minutes off the clock in the fourth quarter. And Josh Allen would pound in 2 of his 3 rushing touchdowns of the game. Allen would also throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, also with 2 interceptions, however. But the Bills' defense would stifle another Baker comeback attempt and force a fumble late in the game for a 44-32 win over the Buccaneers. Looking at the Bills, man, they have to be better at taking care of the ball. They got some turnovers in this game, which helped them, but their run defense is absolutely getting decimated without Ed Oliver in the fray, and it's going to be tough in a division that's surrounded with great running backs and great run play. But I think, I don't know. I said earlier in the season this could be their year. I think it still can. The window is still open for the Buffalo Bills, and it's still open for the Buccaneers. Nobody in the NFC South is really making a push besides the Carolina Panthers. That'll be an interesting development moving forward. I think the Buccaneers are a bit more experienced than the Panthers, and that helps them there in that division, but that'll be something to watch. I can't remember the last time I watched the Giants and were rooting for them, but Jameis Winston was starting, and he led an opening drive to allow Devin Singletary his first rushing touchdown of the season. Jameis would then go ahead and score the go-ahead touchdown, running one in himself. But Jameis do what Jameis does and throws an interception in clutch time right after Jordan Love found Christian Watson to call game. As the Packers hold on and win 27-20, that Jordan Love Christian Watson connection finally coming together after Christian Watson is kind of getting some rub here after being injured, and he probably has a fire lit under his ass because of all the talk of Matthew Golden. He's like, hey, I was another high wide receiver pick here. Where's my love? Jordan Love is your love. Christian Watson, just keep being where he needs you. Speaking of love and the Green Bay Packers, the Steelers would try pounding the rock and mixing in Aaron Rodgers play action against the booty Bengals defense, and they'd score quickly. Chase Brown wouldn't broach 100 yards against the stainless steel curtain, and Joe Flacco would whiff on 17 of his 40 attempts, throwing one touchdown to T. Higgins and one touchdown to the Steelers. The Steelers would seemingly be listening to me because not only did they take a pick six to the house, they'd score on a fumble as well, doing the most with their turnovers, which is something they're going to have to do if they're going to win, even though they lost Aaron Rodgers to a left wrist fracture. He wanted to get back in the game, I'm hearing. He just had a limited practice today. There's talks about him playing this week, but they still hold on to win 34-12. How about Darnell Washington on that play? Did anybody see that? The way he was bouncing people off of him is just absolutely incredible. Darnell Washington is going to be a major pillar piece for the Steelers offense, because when he's on the field, their offense is a lot more successful if he's blocking, if he's out there catching balls. A 6'7", 311-pound man who is able to find a burst of speed and has the athleticism of Darnell Washington. He is the prototype in the NFL. He is the perfect creative player. He is a left tackle with ballet lessons. Darnell Washington, he was Brock Bowers' backup, but not really. I mean, Georgia ran a lot of two tight end offense, and they used him to block, and so he has experience keeping people away from the quarterback. And this year, he's getting some experience from Aaron Rodgers, showing him trust, just like he would with a familiar target, Mercedes Lewis. Any quarterback loves a good target like a Darnell Washington. So if we keep seeing him out there on the field, I think there could be a new big guy, a big tight end. I mean, that's a pause. All right, on next game, Davis Mills starting for Houston. C.J. Stroud was out with a concussion for the second week in a row. I personally think a team with a duck at quarterback could fare pretty well against this terrible Titans team. Or would they? Because Van Jefferson scored for the Tennessee Titans to tie the game at 13 with 95 seconds left. I wouldn't necessarily say this is all on Tennessee's defense, because Houston has had a pretty horrific offensive season. And with C.J. Stroud or Davis or Dougie Mills, it doesn't matter. They tied this game at 13 with 95 seconds left, but it was just enough time for Dougie Mills to use that long neck to peek over the offensive line and find an easy kick for Matthew Wright to send Houston home winners 16-13. Chicago was getting to 9 early in Minnesota and forced him into 2 interceptions in this contest. JJ would get a lead in the fourth quarter, providing some deja vu for the Bears, maybe. But Devin Duvernay would help change the outcome of this game, taking a return 56 yards and immediately helping the Bears get into field goal position. Cairo Santos would nail a 48-yard field goal as time expired to lift the Bears into a season series split with this Minnesota Vikings team and a 19-17 point victory. The Panthers, they would find some chunks in this Atlanta defense, getting into the end zone early and often, actually. They took a break throughout the middle of this game and allowed the Falcons a 21-10 point lead, but then the Panthers would have their backs against the wall, and they would go on a 20-6 run. Something this team may have never done before. So whatever Dave Canales is doing in Carolina, it's working. Okay, they pushed this game into overtime, and they pushed Bryce Young to his limits with his best performance of his career. Bryce Young threw for 448 yards and 3 touchdowns, while Rico Dowdle struggled against the Falcons' defense. The Panthers go on to win in overtime 30-27 after Kirk Cousins goes 3 and out. And Kirk Cousins will be the starter for Atlanta moving forward, as Michael Penix is ruled out for the rest of the season with his 5th season-ending knee injury in his football career dating back to college. It's a tough thing to see for Michael Penix. He's bounced back and performed well before, but it's a sad thing for a guy on his rookie contract to have a season-ending injury with the history that he's had without letting his full potential show in Atlanta. This team was spotty throughout the season, and they held on to Kirk Cousins so far throughout this tenure after they gave him a huge contract and then benched him halfway through the season last year. So let's see if he can kind of use that chip on his shoulder to lift the Falcons up in this NFC South division and give Tampa Bay something to fight with. Speaking of a South division, the AFC South, to be exact, the Jaguars, they really showed me something. They rode both their running backs to a tune of 70 yards apiece. Travis Etienne would go for 70 and 2 touchdowns, and Bashul also had 70 and a touchdown to help Trevor Lawrence with his shoddy performance from a week prior, and he wasn't necessarily clicking that well in this game against the Chargers, but they mixed it up well enough to afford an opportunity to their punter that isn't achieved often. Logan Cook went the entire game without having to punt once, and I was very, very wrong about both these teams, the Jaguars and the Chargers. The Chargers, they continue to find ways to beat themselves, and this is another thing that's tough to watch because they've had such a promising start to the season with their acquisitions at offensive line and the way they played in the first 2 games. And then slowly but surely their team just started dwindling down and they faced more and more injury. And here we are. They're continuing to drop games, and they only had 8 first downs in this game, so they didn't really have anything to hang their hat on as the Jaguars won 35-6. And we move on to the 4 o'clock slate that opened up with fireworks as Sky Moore would return the Cardinals' kick to the 1-yard line and gift Christian McCaffrey an early touchdown. Jacoby Brissett, though, was the key point in this game because it was great to have Brock Purdy back. He led the Niners throughout the game, but Jacoby Brissett led the Cardinals throughout this fight. He broke the NFL record in completions with 47 completions out of 57 attempts, finding their target to a tune of 452 yards. So Jacoby Brissett and Bryce Young leading the NFL passing yardage game for the day was not on my bingo card, but this was a massive game for him due to being blown out and playing from behind. As great as Mac Jones played throughout his starts for the 49ers this season when Brock Purdy was out with injury, Brock Purdy led the Niners to a commanding 41-22 win in his return. Devontae Adams would command a little bit of history here. He caught his 1,000th career ball, and it would go for a Rams touchdown. His only catch of the day was a touchdown. Pair that history with the Rams secondary smothering Seattle and forcing Sam Darnold into a historic form for him, throwing 4 interceptions in this game. Despite their offensive failures, the Seahawks defense would hang on tough and push the Rams to the last second. After Kenneth Walker would find the end zone, the Hawks would lead a drive to get into field goal territory, but missed the kick with time expiring, and kind of gifting the Rams a 21-19 win here and sole ownership of the NFC West. We had an AFC North division rivalry go head-to-head here with the Ravens and the Browns. Both these defenses got after each other early, with Lamar Jackson throwing a pick-6 in the second quarter, and the Cleveland Browns would jump out to a 13-3 lead. Kind of looks like the end of the Ravens season here. They're down 10 points to the Browns in a grind of a game, especially when Myles Garrett was having another historic game. He had 4 solo sacks in this game, but it would be the other big body on the other side of the ball. No, I'm not talking about the Cleveland Browns offense. I'm talking about the Ravens. And Mark Andrews, who in a 4th and inches situation would rise to the occasion. Running out of a tush-push formation, as he usually does in these situations, they decide to just use that brotherly shove lineup and push their tight end across the first down marker. But he took the snap and faked the handoff to his left, and then he rinses out into a seam in the defense, running as fast as a man this size possibly can for 35 untouched yards to seal a 13-0 fourth quarter and to win 23-16. So a great comeback for the Ravens in this game, a great battle for the Ravens, both defensively and offensively. Myles Garrett is a highlight of this game because this is the second game this season that he's lost where he's had more than 3 sacks, and I think that's history. So we got to stat that. But Myles Garrett has to be frustrated. In this game, we lost Dillon Gabriel. Dillon Gabriel is out with a concussion, and he won't be back next week, so it's Shador's time. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. The Broncos and the Chiefs. They played the most boring divisional rivalry game I've ever seen in my life. These quarterbacks and offenses as a whole just seemed to be out of sync for the entirety of the game. Rashee Rice dropped some balls, but there were also some overthrows. And it's been hard for Patrick Mahomes to stay upright this season. As a team that made it to the Super Bowl last year with a majority of the same players, what's going on in Kansas City is seemingly unexplainable. The Broncos do what they do and kick a last-minute field goal to win. They hold the AFC West in the palm of their hand and move to 9-2. But at 5-5, the Chiefs are starting to fade around Patrick Mahomes. He's doing everything he can to lead this team, rushing for more than ever, taking big hits. This season is going to put a lot of wear on him if they can't click and continue to lose these games 22-19, losing these one-possession games in situations where they've won them quite regularly. It's tough because everybody wants to hate on the Chiefs, hate on the winners. I can't really show much hate for Patrick Mahomes in this situation. I mean, the way he's playing and using his instinct to keep his team in positions to win is really commendable, and it kind of solidifies to me the greatness of his star. Then we had Lions and Eagles on Sunday Night Football. I was going into this game thinking, man, both these offenses have massive weapons, and this should be a banger. And no, it wasn't. It was quite cold in Philadelphia, and Jared Goff froze his ass off, had a bunch of overthrows, and the Eagles made 3 more field goals to win. What's going on in Philly? Why can't they run the ball more? What is going on with Saquon Barkley? What happened to this offense? Why can they not just put it together? And why are they just winning these games 16-9? Just another fucking notch on the wall about the Philadelphia defense just being a dominating factor. But we move on, and their offense, like, are they going to be able to win games if they can't put up points? I need a Philly cheesesteak. The schedule makers cooked on Monday Night Football, that's for sure. I wish they cooked me a Philly cheesesteak. They cooked up the Cowboys and Raiders. Maybe for the preseason. Going into this season, you kind of had a lot of promise with the Raiders, with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith coming to resurrect the team, but it hasn't really panned out that way. This poor Raiders team is free-falling now at 2-8, and Max Crosby is seemingly the entire team. He gets a sack on Dak, but this powerhouse Dallas offense would be at least somewhat entertaining for a Monday Night Football game. George Pickens would catch 9 of 11 targets for 144 yards, and CeeDee Lamb would catch 5 of 7 of his targets for 66 yards, and each of the tandem caught a touchdown pass from Dak as he threw 4 on this abysmal Raiders defense. Javonte Williams had 93 yards on the ground, continues to prove himself to be a great pickup and exactly what this Dallas offense needed to become more dynamic and effective. Dallas wins 33-16 and moves to 4-5 in a tie. They could end up at, like, what? 11-5 and a tie, and who knows? Who knows with the trajectory that the Eagles are on, losing Lane Johnson to injury, what this Cowboys team could be. But we might know after next week, because that's kind of exactly what we have on the schedule, ain't it? We'll move right into our picks, because last week we had a 10-5 record. We boasted our record up to 61-32. Something I'm pretty happy about with all you guys. I'm giving you 61 winners so far on the season. I might know a thing or two about this ball thing. So let's get into this week's schedule and who we're picking, and right down to the nuts and bolts of things. The soup to nuts, you will. Let's see. First things first. Buffalo and Houston. Thursday Night Football. Thursday, November 20th. I'm going with Buffalo here. Houston is still playing without C.J. Stroud. It's going to be a tough game for Buffalo. I think they're going to grind it out. It's a 6-point spread. I don't know if Buffalo covers that, but what I do know is that Houston's offense is just terrible, and they're not really running the ball that effectively, and that's kind of the major area where Buffalo is hurt. I think Josh Allen kind of had laser eyes last week. So once he puts those laser eyes on, he's kind of a different player. We have this game where they do have a great pass rush in Houston, but I don't think it's going to be enough to stop Buffalo tonight. I think James Cook has the potential to run all over Houston, and it might just be a night where James Cook cooks. And we'll move right on to Sunday, because we have a fun slate here. We have Pittsburgh and Chicago. Chicago has been prone to turn over the ball, and Pittsburgh needs those turnovers to win. And right now they have the Ravens hot on their tail at 5-5. Pittsburgh has a very narrow lead. And I think they're going to want to hold on to that. I think their defense is going to play with a little bit more fervor, especially in a city like Chicago. I think this is a place that that Pittsburgh is tuned and ready for. Probably reminds them of home. And you think about the battles of the Midway and the Chicago Bears' historic defenses. And the Chicago Bears, who also have a lot of issues going on with defensive players getting back in the fray from injuries. So we're going to go with Pittsburgh here with a classic Aaron Rodgers chip on his shoulder game, playing with a broken hand. Then you have my New England Patriots taking on the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. There are rumblings that Joe Burrow may play. I don't care. We've seen the offensive line. We've seen what they were able to do in the run game. It's pretty hard for anybody to run on the New England Patriots to begin with. They're one of the best rush defenses in the league right now, and I think that New England is just clicking on all cylinders, especially after they had some bulletin board material last week with Cam Newton running his grill, Stephen A. Smith talking his crap, all of these people on ESPN giving the Patriots the lollipop award, saying they have the easiest record in history. So if they have the easiest record, I want the hardest opponents. Sure, Joe Burrow, come back from your turf toe. Come play us. We're ready. The Bengals have a lot to fight for in the season, but the Patriots got nothing to lose. And what's scarier than a man with nothing to lose? Maybe Motor City Dan Campbell coming off a loss. That's a Detroit win, taking on the New York Giants in Detroit. The Giants, Jameis or Jackson, they're inconsistent offensively due to the fact that they really don't have that many weapons on the outside for Jackson Dart to get the ball to. Their defensive rush is really good, but I think Jared Goff is going to want to prove himself after having a poor performance in Philadelphia last week. Minnesota is visiting the Packers at Lambeau Field, and Minnesota is in a really weird place right now with all the rumblings going on about J.J. McCarthy. I think his inconsistencies have just been proven to be too true. He's very inaccurate with the ball, and the Green Bay Packers pass rush is something that he's probably not going to want to mess with. The Packers have a really good defense this year. They've held teams to low totals, and I think that this is a defense that the Packers could score score on. It's been hard without Tucker Kraft, but Christian Watson coming in to the fray a bit more last week kind of shows me that maybe he could step up in this moment, and I think this is the perfect time for him to do so against a division rival and against a position rival like Justin Jefferson. It'll be a big game for Christian Watson to show something in the division as far as, hey, I'm a receiver here too. You're not the only guy, Jay Jettis. You have Seattle moving into Tennessee to take over the Titans and Ultima or Nissan Stadium, whatever the hell they call it these days. Seattle's going to win that game. Seattle's got to bounce back. They faced a buzzsaw last week in the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams have been dominating all season, so it's no surprise that the Rams are winning and beating teams in these big games, these division-defining games. They have the experience of Matt Stafford, who's been in the league for 38 years, who's been playing at an MVP level for a majority of those, and has just finally found himself in the right situation in Los Angeles. But this game is about Seattle and Tennessee, so we'll get back there. And Seattle just has all of the weapons on the outside. They have a great run game. They have a great offensive line, and I think it's just a game where Sam Darnold was rattled last week, and he's going to bounce back from that as he did last year in Minnesota when he was playing in the right system, and this is a great place for him to thrive. I don't think we should sell our hedge our bets on Sam Darnold so quick, and I think this week is a great opportunity for him to show us, just like it's a great opportunity for the Indianapolis Colts to show us who they are against the Kansas City Chiefs. They're not defending champions, but they're defending AFC champions. They've been to the Super Bowl the last 6-7 years. And they're just not, they're not clicking, as I said earlier. They're not really in sync. There seems to be not a glitch, but a little bit of lag in the offense. Their defense still plays really well, and I think they'll be able to give Daniel Jones some fits here. But they have been able to be ran over quite a bit, and I think this will be a big game for Jonathan Taylor. The Indianapolis Colts are coming off of a bye, so they've had 2 weeks to kind of prepare for this game, and they're coming off of a big win, a big comeback win against the Falcons. Off of that bye. So I want to go with the Colts here. I want to stick with the hot hand, and we'll see what the Kansas City Chiefs can do coming back from a 5-6 record. They'll still have a chance to go 11-6, and that still could be enough to get into the playoffs with the AFC West kind of seeming to melt around the Broncos. And we'll move on to the Jets and Baltimore. Baltimore has to win this game, obviously, but the Jets, they're moving to Tyrod Taylor at quarterback. I don't really think that's the right or wrong move. I mean, Tyrod Taylor he's shown to be a very serviceable quarterback, a great backup. He stepped up in the league when he's had to. He did it in New York before when he played for the Giants. But I just think that this is Baltimore's time. And like I talked about, they're sitting at 5-5 going into this game. There's a great chance for them to win their next 7 games and go 12-5. And I think they are going into every game with a mindset that they need to do that. They showed a lot of fight against the Cleveland Browns, who, they have a good solid defense, and the New York Jets defense is kind of fallen apart since getting rid of Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. So I want to see Lamar Action Jackson run wild all over the New York Jets on Sunday. The Cleveland Browns are playing the Las Vegas Raiders in Shedeur Sanders' first start against a team that he was rumored to go to. He had rumors to have ties there. Who knows? Maybe he'll start there one day with Tom Brady kind of running the show over there. But Las Vegas is in a really bad spot. Somehow they're favorites in this game, and I guess you can't blame all their issues on Geno Smith, but he's not really helping much. I see this Cleveland Browns defense being able to get to him and force a couple turnovers in this game and maybe set Shedeur up, but will it be the perfect timing for Mr. Sanders here? I don't know. I think Las Vegas has an edge here with their quarterback experience. I think Las Vegas has an edge with the game that they played last week. It really wasn't anything to write home about against the Cowboys, but they were kind of in it towards the end of the second half, or towards the end of the first half still. So they do have some fight. They just have more gaffes than they have success. And I think if there's any team that's going to allow a couple openings, it's going to be the Cleveland Browns, just with their inefficient offense. It's going to be tough for Geno Smith, though, with Myles Garrett chasing him throughout the whole game. That is the major highlight of the Cleveland Browns team. But it's not going to be enough. Just like Max Crosby wasn't enough for the Raiders to overcome the Cowboys. It's kind of the same situation in tiers of teams here. So we're going to go with the Raiders over the Browns. Jacksonville heads to Arizona to play a team where they really don't know what they got going on right now. Jacoby Brissett is able to sling the pill, as we saw last week, throwing 47 completions, but I don't think that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to pull away quite the same way the 49ers will. Amari DiMercado is out for the Cardinals, so they're playing without a serviceable running back, really. They're kind of hobbling through the rest of the season, and it's a weird spot for the Cardinals to be in. They're probably already looking forward to next season, and Jacksonville is just trying to remain in the hunt and on the bubble, which they are. Right now, they are lurking in the bubble. They have a chance to be in the playoffs if the playoffs were to start today, so they probably have their foot on the gas pedal, and they want to continue moving forward. In order for that to happen, though, Trevor Lawrence really has to step up his play, and I think this Cardinals defense is a good chance for him to do that. So, give me Jacksonville. Give me another away team, Philadelphia, taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Their defense is going to heavily influence the outcome of this game, and we know this. But I think they could put Dak in some spots to make him look a little bit silly. It's going to be tough, though. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, they are the best tandem of wide receivers in the league right now. As far as effectiveness goes, as far as potential goes, you look on the other side of the ball, and it could be A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but they're just not running a great passing offense. And it's sad to see because it has people taking shots at each of the three players, but it just looks like what they have on paper is not good enough for the field. I think this week, the pressure is on. And especially with a division game like this. That's why I have to give the Eagles the edge. They have the winning experience. But it's not going to be easy for Philadelphia. And the rest of the stretch isn't necessarily going to be easy either. They have to get Saquon Barkley involved in the game. He's had one game all season that really impresses the box score, that really impresses the casual fans, but it also really impresses somebody like me, especially with his ability. He has the ability to bounce outside and take control of the situation, and I think he's kind of taking a back seat for a little bit. For it could be on purpose. I don't know, but the Eagles, they got to get Saquon involved, and I think this is the week to do it. So. Give me Saquon for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a Philadelphia Eagle win. And give me Atlanta as they head into New Orleans and face a division rival in the NFC South. And this is a good chance for Kirk Cousins to kind of swipe that chip off his shoulder and show the world Kirk O'Shane's once again. He needs to go into New Orleans trap and then take over their trap, as he would say. Kirk Cousins is such a lovable guy, such a lovable leader. So it's kind of hard to see a place where he doesn't succeed. And I think Atlanta still has open arms for him, especially considering all the money they're paying him. So we'd probably love for him to step up and win some games here. New Orleans, we know their struggles and their woes. So I think this is a great chance for the Falcons to get a good win. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Los Angeles Rams play one another on tonight's Sunday night football game. I'm going with the Rams here. Even though they almost lost to the Seahawks, I think that game had a little bit more nerve and a little bit more behind it. Tampa Bay is kind of showing the injuries in the receiving core quite a bit. We had some drop balls, and we had a little bit of a Baker blow up last week, which I'm not a huge fan of seeing. My love for Baker Mayfield is well documented throughout this season, and seasons of past. But I'm going with the Rams here due to their experience, due to their playoff push right now, and their standing in the league. I think they're going to want to hold on to all of those things. But if there's any chance for me to be upset on this sheet, this is one of the greatest ones, considering Baker Mayfield is that guy. And we go back to 3 years ago when Baker Mayfield got traded from the Panthers to the Rams. And in less than a week, he learned the offense and won a game for the Rams. So maybe he just wants to, he has that prove him wrong mentality sometimes. So maybe he just wants to go into LA and prove why he's better than Matt Stafford. I don't really know where I was going there, but I know I'm going with the Rams to win. And now I'm going to Monday Night Football, where the San Francisco 49ers will fend off a feisty, fighting Carolina team. And this will be a disappointing loss for Carolina, because they are truly rolling. They are, where are they right now? 6-5, second in the NFC South. This is a big game for them, but San Francisco has a lot of firepower. With Juwan Jennings, and then you have Christian McCaffrey seemingly doing it all. And when Brock Purdy comes into the game, it kind of changes George Kittle and what he's able to do on the field. It makes him a more dynamic pass catcher, and they have great chemistry with one another. In the middle of the field is kind of Carolina's only really defensive struggle, which is perfect for a game plan like San Francisco has. They're going to heavily focus on getting George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey involved, and those two guys are going to lead them to the promised land on Monday Night Football and make things interesting here in the NFC West. They have some adversity they're battling up against, but I mean, honestly, who doesn't? That's what life is all about. Facing adversity head on and doing what you have to do to get through them. We kind of segue here into the show with what adversity really does to you or for you. I think it does more for you than it does to you, especially if you approach it with that mindset. It's easy to be discouraged. It's easy to be feeling like you're let down or put down in certain situations. It's also easy to bounce back from those, and it's also easy to kind of push through those because it's all just part of the process of what success is. I think a lot of these colloquialisms I can gather throughout life have a lot to do with adversity that I've faced and how I can relate it in most times to athletic endeavors. Like, in life, what is something that I just really want to do? Win. Why? I'm a competitor first and foremost, but if I'm winning, that means I'm successful. And if I'm successful, I can spread success to the people who mean the most to me. So I want to head into everything with a competitive mindset. And I think what we face these days is a bit of a nihilistic sort of society where people just kind of think things are hopeless. And once they've felt like things are hopeless, they felt like there's no point or no reason to move forward or no reason to give things their all or buy into something bigger than themselves. And I think with coaches in life or with team sports or anything that you really have to dedicate yourself to, you learn a lot about sacrificing. You learn, which is something I talk about all the time, but you learn a lot about sacrificing for the greater good. Sacrifice for something that's bigger than you, and just kind of buy in for a little bit and trust in the process and see where it gets you after time. We are too impatient as people these days, and I think we give up before we give it our all. And I think there are some things that these next couple of threads can actually show you that will help you battle through that adversity. So let's dive right in. We have Coach Speak this week, and then we're going to go with Urban Meyers and Lou Holtz. Urban Meyer had this quote on his wall that every player saw, It's based on something everyone's heard before, but Meyer changed it. He added one brutal line that most people don't want to hear, and that one line changed everything. The original quote says, "If your habits don't reflect your dreams and goals, change your habits." Simple enough. Work harder, be more disciplined. Align your actions with your aspirations. It's the kind of advice coaches will give all the time, but Meyer saw a problem with it. Meyer's version adds one truth-telling line, or change your dreams and goals. That line forces you to face reality. Either your dreams are serious enough to change your habits, or your habits reveal what you actually want. You can't have both. You have to choose. Here's why Meyer made that change. He kept hearing players say, "I want to play in the NFL," while their actions said something completely different. Late to practice, skipping film sessions, half effort in the weight room. Meyer wasn't buying it anymore. "Don't lie to me, it's fine," he'd tell them. "But don't lie to yourself. Do you really want to be a first-round draft pick, and you're doing this?" Most people lie to themselves about their commitment level. They say they want greatness while living like average is good enough. They talk about championships while cutting corners nobody sees. They claim big dreams while choosing small habits. The gap between what they say and what they do is massive, and they pretend not to notice. Meyer's edition eliminates that self-deception. Your habits are the truth, not your words, not your intentions, not what you say when someone asks about your goals. Your habits are the mirror that doesn't lie. And if your habits don't match your dreams, one of them has to change. You can't have championship dreams with average habits. You can't wait to be great while acting like mediocrity is acceptable. Either elevate your habits to match your goals or lower your expectations to match your effort, but stop lying to yourself about what you really want. When they start saying, "I want to do this," but don't lie to yourself, that's when it usually hits home. So ask yourself, do your habits reflect your dreams? If not, which one are you changing? Because keeping both while they contradict each other is just lying to yourself. And that's one lie you can't afford to keep telling. And it truly is. So this line change, or change your dreams and goals. I think when you give the power back to the person who's kind of giving up on what they're doing, is really when you open their eyes, and it puts their back against the wall. It creates a clutch moment for the player or the person. When it comes to work or athletics, it doesn't matter what it comes to in life. You can apply this to everything. Change your goals, change your dream, because nobody really wants to change their dream. They know what they want. They think they know what they want to do. Anything takes everything. Any goal, any dream, any success takes everything. Every bit of effort that you have towards it should be applied towards that dream thing if you're truly doing it with passion. One of the things that I say in my 3 life goals is to be successful in my career. So do you think somebody who wants to be successful in their career goes into work and says, "I want this," or "I want that," without putting the effort forward to show that they're deserving of it? Or do they go in and work until they're given what they've earned? I think there's a big disconnect, especially in today's society, because it's hard to get recognized. Truly. It truly is hard to get recognized. I will be transparent with that. I won't say that, hey, all you got to do is pick yourself up by your bootstraps and work hard. It doesn't go unnoticed. Sometimes hard work does go unnoticed, but consistency gets noticed. Once you work hard and continue to work hard, your motor gets noticed. People will begin to call you a animal or a monster or an absolute dog. But regardless of those things taking place, what's taking place first is you putting your best foot forward. And I think that's missed out on a lot in situations where people talk about their dreams and their goals. Dreams are dreams, but if you sleep on them, what are they're still just dreams. Without a plan, without habits, without preparation, they'll always be dreams. So plans, habits, preparation, effort, that's what it takes to turn your life into dreams, or your dreams into your life, rather. In Lou Holtz. We'll get into Lou Holtz because he turned around 4 programs within 2 to 3 years using the same 5 rules. Arkansas went from 5-1 to 11-1. At Notre Dame, Lou Holtz went 5-6 to 12-0. And then at South Carolina, they went from completely defeated 0-11 to 8-4. Not with new talent or more money, just 5 rules. Simple, repeatable, and powerful. So Lou Holtz, one of the great personalities in football as we've come to know him over our lifetime, but throughout many past lifetimes and many moons, Lou Holtz was a extremely successful coach and a Fighting Irish alum. So shout out to Lou Holtz. And here's his 5 rules for success. Don't tell people about your problems. 90% don't care. And the other 10% are glad you got them. That's a Lou Holtz quote, if I've ever heard one. Number 1 is to control your attitude. Your attitude is the only thing you can fully control when everything else falls apart. Success isn't about circumstances, it's about how you respond to them. Average people blame conditions. Champions create conditions. I love this. I love this because in any situation you find yourself in life, you can very easily point out the things that suck. You can very easily point out the things that need to change. You can very easily sit there and complain about everything that's going wrong. Or you could work diligently and put your best effort forward and be the champion who creates the conditions. You can be the person who makes the change. You don't really find success in life until you stop complaining about what needs to be done and you just shut up and do what needs to be done. And that's how you get noticed. You can succeed when no one believes in you. You have no chance if you don't believe in yourself. Another great Lou Holtz quote. Number 2, sacrifice and eliminate excuses. It's a passion to win. Passion requires giving up comfort, convenience, and complaining. Champions don't explain why they can't. They find ways they can. The bumblebee can't fly, according to engineers, but nobody told the bumblebee. That's Lou Holtz, man. Get rid of all the excuses. Can you live with losing? Can you accept mediocrity? That tells me everything about you. Oh, that tells me everything about you. I can see why this attitude is easy to miss these days. I could see why it's easily overlooked. I can see why people don't want to hear this type of thing because it's harsh. But so is life. Life is very harsh if you try to live life as comfortably as you can, because you'll get hit with a rude awakening one way or another. Life is always going to happen to life. And if you sit in your bubble, if you sit in your comfort zone, you're never going to be exposed to this adversity and learn how to react. You're never going to learn how to respond to the hard conditions. You're never going to learn how to turn the conditions around. But you have to get rid of the excuses. Think about that. Can you live with losing? Can you accept mediocrity? That tells me everything about you. Number 3, focus on what you can control. Keep your mandate simple. 2 things that matter most, executed relentlessly. Don't overcomplicate success. Master the fundamentals everyone else finds boring, working on the process instead of the outcome. Focus on constants, your effort, your preparation, and your attitude, and not the variables like scores or circumstances. We had 2 mandates, graduate athletes and win. Don't complicate it. What are your 2 mandates? Think about that in your career and your growth, whatever your definition of personal gain is currently. What are your 2 mandates? What are the 2 things that mean the most for success in your field? Number 4, be a dreamer, don't maintain. You're either growing or dying. Maintaining is the beginning of the decline. And then you have dreams. Dreams excite people. Strategic plans don't. The moment you protect what you have is the moment you start losing it. My biggest regret, after reaching the top at Notre Dame, I tried to maintain instead of grow. The moment you maintain, you're finished. This is why when it comes to running, I'm always pushing myself towards the next thing. If I had a goal to run in one race and then I did, what would I have done next? It's always been a constant overload, a constant progressive move for more. The next goal is always bigger than the last goal, and that's how you continue to grow. And there is no maintenance there. The maintenance is in the off season, and the off season is short. 5, make good choices, because that equals character. You have to do what's right so people can trust you. Without trust, there is no team. That is what they say about do everything like somebody's watching, or character is who you are when nobody's looking. Do what's right. Just do the right thing. I know it's hard because there's a lot of easy ways to get around the right thing. There's a lot of corners to cut, but the right thing is always more fulfilling. Because trust is one of the most fulfilling things you can gain from somebody. When you have a boss or a peer or somebody in your life who you love, who tells you that they trust you, there's a warm, fuzzy feeling that comes from that, because you have proven to yourself and somebody else that you are reliable. And there's no better ability than reliability. Do everything to the best of your ability. No imposters, no going through the motions. Show people you care. Walk in thinking, there you are, not here I am. Everyone asks 3 questions. Can I trust you? Are you committed to excellence? And do you care about me? Follow these rules and you'll always get yes. Yes, you'll always get a win. A yes is a win, and a win is a win. These fundamentals, they might seem harsh. They might seem like a person who takes life too seriously. But honestly, if you're somebody who tells me that you can take life too seriously, you're somebody who I'm deeming not ready for success. Yes, there are moments, and if you know me, you know my mantra. There are moments where you can let loose and have a good time, but you have to be able to read the room. You have to be able to be professional. You have to be able to hold all these things together, because that is setting yourself up by putting yourself in the environment to put your best foot forward. People blame a lot on a lot of their circumstances. They blame on their environment. Blame is something that's not in my reactionary wheel. There is always a way to get through. You just have to continue to push. And if you find yourself not being able to or not wanting to, maybe you're not in the right field. Just a little food for thought. But coaches have a interesting way of having the ability to just kind of cut through and be as blatant as they need to be, with complete disregard of people's feelings. And that's because when you're working towards an outcome, your feelings aren't necessarily that important. Your reactions are important. Things are going to make you feel one way or another, no matter what. Think about today's athletes and the amount of scrutiny they face online. They still have to go out and perform. And I think that's a good enough indicator for why coach speak works in real life, and why those types of things that we just talked about are something that could help kind of reshape and reform your life and put you in the right direction. Athletic endeavors definitely helped me turn my life around into the direction that I needed to go. And why did it do that? Because I picked up very valuable principles from goal setting and goal achieving that are translatable throughout any facet of life. So if you think what I'm talking about here is only helpful for football, I encourage you to think like Urban Meyer and Lou Holtz for the next couple weeks, for the next couple months, and see what the trajectory of your life could become. And as always, I would encourage you to subscribe, like, leave a comment, a rating, a review, whatever you have to get a little bit of engagement going. You can follow me on social media on Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, at Bump of TTS. Find me on TikTok, bookmarkswbump. I'm like 2 followers away from being able to go live. I would love to be able to go live and do some podcast prep with some of my wonderful bookworms here. You can leave an email at bookmarkswbump@gmail.com if you need any help with personal training, or if you have any threads you'd like to suggest yourself. And as always, it's all love. God bless. I always do that.
I'm a night rider. Every time that I call past midnight, I swear I get higher. Swear I gotta get higher now. I'm a night rider. Every time that I give what I got, I supply that fire. I supply that fire.